early aircraft had wooden propellers driven by piston engines. By the First World War, aeroplanes could reach top speeds of around 100 miles per hour, but they were limited by the size of their engines.
This engine dates from 1909. It didn't produce very much power, it was small and light, and because it didn't produce very much power, the aircraft of the time had to be small and light too. Well, gradually the engines got more and more powerful, better techniques were employed, better fuel even, and in less than 40 years we'd arrived at an engine that produced 2,700 horsepower and was probably the pinnacle of piston engine developments in the first half of the 20th century.
By the Second World War, top speeds had tripled. Aircraft like the Spitfire could reach speeds in excess of 300 miles per hour. But to go faster, a different type of engine was needed, the jet engine.
Well, this is an early version of the jet engine, and this one was actually installed in the Gloucester Meteor, the RAF's first jet fighter, in about 1944. What happens is that air is sucked in at the front here, it's compressed in this device here, and then fed through to the combustion chamber here where fuel is injected, it's ignited, and then as it expands it's forced out the back of the nozzle there, and that's what propels the aircraft forward.
In the UK, the jet engine was first developed by young RAF officer Frank Whittle, starting in the 1920s and developing his ideas further during the Second World War.
Whittle's first jet engine produced as much power as a Spitfire's Merlin engine did at the same period, so you can almost say the jet engine starts where the piston engine finishes.
Although the first jet engines weren't any more powerful than piston engines, this changed over time. Other technologies and even different types of aircraft also developed alongside them, providing new capabilities.
Conventional fixed-wing aircraft create their lift by effectively having a propeller or jet engines that create a forward motion through the air. That airflow over the wings is what creates their lift. That means they need runways and airfields in order to get airborne. Helicopters conversely have their propellers or rotor blades mounted vertically. It pushes the air down, creating vertical lift on the helicopter so that it can lift directly from where it is. It changed the way an operation in a war or a battle could be fought. The capability of being able to descend and climb vertically means it can get into confined areas in cities, it can climb into mountainous regions, areas that fixed-wing aircraft just couldn't access and definitely couldn't land at. The versatility of helicopters first made its operational impact in the early 1950s in Korea. Since then, their use has developed in conflicts and operations. I'm part of a squadron here that has used helicopters and Pumas in the 90s in the Balkans, in Bosnia for the UN peacekeeping missions there. In more recent times, in Iraq and Afghanistan, helicopters have really shown their capability and versatility for troop movement, casualty evacuation and VIP movement.
Whilst helicopters were evolving from the 1950s through to the present day, aeroplane engines were also developing. Modern turboprop engines have enabled massive transport planes, and high-tech jet engines are used in aircraft like the Eurofighter Typhoon.
The great thing about the engines is how much they've evolved over the time. We still might use propellers on some of our aircraft, but we've now advanced to such a stage that we've got the jet engines that are used inside the Typhoon, and these propel the aircraft to such a speed that I think was probably even unimaginable at the time that things like the Spitfire were being designed. Now working on the Typhoon, it's such an advance in technology because actually it's all done by computers. It makes it a bit of a challenge for being able to maintain it. You're looking into maybe the ones and zeros or the computers and being able to diagnose what's going wrong in those. So you need a completely different skill set.
Powerful jet engines enabled supersonic flight, creating planes which can travel several times the speed of sound. Jet engines have revolutionized not only the military, but also commercial aviation.
Jet engines have enabled aircraft to fly further, higher, faster, to do things that were never before considered possible. A piston engine could never have flown non-stop to Australia. Now people are discussing whether we'll be able to fly right round the world in a jet aircraft.
At the moment, I don't think I can guess where technology is going in the future, and that's what makes it exciting. I think definitely if you look back at the Spitfire and the people that were designing that, they never would have thought that we'd get to something as advanced as the Typhoon. So who knows where we'll be in 10, 20 years' time when we're looking back at what we've invented.